Hello, everybody. I received an email from a subscriber, and I thought it would make sense if we have a look at that email together, and I will comment on the individual points this subscriber makes, and then maybe provide some personal experience. And ideally, if you follow this video, then you can also put your advice and your thoughts in the comments, so that after some time we will have a wonderful resource on the key question that this subscriber is posing, and it is about which programming language to pick. So I would just suggest let's have a look at the email that I received, and let's try to help out a bit. And just a disclaimer, I'm by no means an expert at all. I can't be responsible for any decisions you make. And in the end, those decisions aren't even important at all. They are really not important in life. Trust me. All right, so let's have a look at the email. Hi Daniel, I hope you're doing well. I'm one of your YouTube channel subscribers and I occasionally watch your videos. I learned from them and really enjoy them. Thanks a lot, that's why I record them. And actually, I don't record them to teach you and to make all of you learn. I actually record my videos to learn stuff myself. And I get roasted in the comments a lot of times, actually quite frequently, that my videos are too long, I have no clue what I'm doing, and my didactic skills should be refined. I should do more research before doing the videos, before recording the videos. And I 100% agree with all those points, but they would just suck the life out of me. I really just want to try some technical stuff, some coding, and record myself doing it, record myself learning a bit, and sharing that with all of you. So, and anything beyond that, having to plan out videos, having to take notes, having to research technical subjects before I even record the video, it just wouldn't be the same thing. It wouldn't be fun. All right. So, I'm a first-year computer science student, writes the subscriber. And despite having some prior programming background before university in Python, I'd still consider myself a total beginner. This time, I want to take my programming journey more seriously than before. So apparently, this subscriber is enrolled in university now and has some prior programming knowledge in Python, which is already very good. I wish I had some prior programming knowledge in Python before I joined university. I think my programming knowledge before I joined university was some basic HTML and CSS, which doesn't even count as programming to most of you. And I did some coding in, I think, C#. No, or Visual Basic. No, it was Visual Basic. I don't know if you know that language. Before, it's now at least 12 to 15 years ago. And I wrote a password stealing program, which I distributed over the internet using torrents. And basically, I had this online game where you could gather some in-game currency, and there were a couple of YouTube tutorials where people faked such in-game currency generators, and I also did that. And using some tutorial, I just copied and pasted code and compiled it to some executable. I wrote a nice looking graphical user interface that looked authentic. And then, people sent me their passwords via email. But the way this program worked was that it contained in the source code my personal email and my personal email's password, such that when the user types his password and clicks generate this currency now for my account, then the program would log into my email and send myself an email. So it worked. I gathered some passwords, but then some guy came up and decompiled my executable and then locked me out of my email and told me to take down the video. Completely fair. Otherwise, I would not get access to my email again. So because I had the source, because I had my password and my email address as part of the source code, because I just didn't know better, someone was able to decompile my program and hack me because I had my credentials in the source code. Yeah. And that was a lesson for life, and that really made me, it really hooked me. Because there was some bigger fish that completely obliterated my my personal pride I took in this simple little hack. Small little story. So basically it resulted in me taking down the video and never doing it again. And a lifelong lesson, and that's it. So I had some basic HTML and CSS knowledge, some C# knowledge from copying code from the internet, trying to hack people, but actually getting hacked myself, and then some other stuff. But I really never knew any programming, at least not to a real useful degree. I was just a code copy paster. A script kiddie. Hackers called that a script kiddie. Someone who just digs through the internet, grabs code and executables, and causes a mess. That's me. So if you already know some Python before university, and now that you're in your first grade and your first year, and you don't know some Python, that's already very good. Let's continue reading the email. I'd still consider myself a total beginner. This time I want to take my programming journey more seriously than before. Yeah. And this is also a culprit that I see many people making, is they are just downplaying themselves. You say you still consider yourself a total beginner. I bet you are better than, at least than me, when you're at this stage. And you're a better programmer than most people on Earth. And even many people who are working already professionally as software engineers, junior software engineers, are still considering themselves beginners. And sometimes I even feel like a beginner myself. And this is not because you are really a beginner and you really lack the knowledge and the computer skills and the understanding of the system. It's just very easy to consider yourself a beginner because computers are such complex systems that regardless of how much experience you have, you will face and you will be exposed to new concepts every single day. Since I started working professionally after university 6 years ago, I have learned some new programming or operating systems concept every single day. And that is not a lie. You're really learning every day. So, and you can never really grow beyond the beginner level. Yes, you can deepen your knowledge in some specific components of a computer, in some specific categories of programming languages. You can be an expert in some things. But the rate at which complexity grows in computer science is just ridiculous. Of course, the basics always stay the same. You can master the basics, but everything built on top of the basics, it's impossible to keep up. And therefore, everybody will feel like a beginner all the time. And the art is now to acknowledge that you don't know everything, but that you have a foundation that applies and that will be applicable for a long time in the future. And if you already know Python, you definitely have basic programming knowledge. You know what variables are, you know what for loops are, you know what while loops are likely, you know what functions are, you know what files are, you know what a program is. Yeah, keep it simple. And these basics will never change. And the art of software engineering, the art of programming, is not to consider yourself a master and have a pumped up ego in some specific area. It's just knowing that you can always learn stuff regardless of how you feel like now. So you consider yourself a beginner now, but I'm very sure that you are very capable. You say you occasionally watch my videos, so that's already something, because my videos usually take 1 hour, and someone who watches 1 hour of pure programming content, it's impossible that you are a beginner. Really. Most people won't endure just a few minutes here on this channel. And that's not talking down on them. It's just that because you busy yourself with that kind of content for longer stretches of times, that already shows that you belong to a certain group of people. And because you belong to that specific group of people, it's everybody outside of that group will consider you a computer expert. I guarantee it. All right. So let's continue with the next couple sentences. In this regard, I've been struggling with the choice of programming language I should focus on and dedicate my time to, and I'd like to hear your opinion as someone with relatively good experience in this field. Here it's nice that you emphasize relatively good experience, because that's quite true. It's just relative. And many people watching this channel, they are just wondering why this channel even exists and why people watch these videos, because they consider me a total noob, a beginner, and I shouldn't record videos because I don't know what I'm talking about, but others they view my videos as helpful, and therefore relatively this is again in line with the total beginner theory. It's just a matter of perspective. But if you make a cut through the population, it is very likely that outside of this silo, of this isolated group here, where there is a differentiation between beginners and experts, if even that, outside of that group, you are definitely advanced. I know that for a fact. Okay, but you are struggling with the choice of programming language you should focus on. And this is the eternal question, the choice of programming language. And there are endless debates online, under videos, in comments, speed comparison videos. What's the fastest programming language? C versus Java, C++ versus C, Python versus Ruby. What's the better scripting language, Bash or Python? Oh my God. And you can compare languages for days, weeks, or even months at a time. And you'll never run out of comparisons you can make and investigate. And some programming languages will be faster than others because they are compiled and they run as machine code directly. Others need virtual machines and therefore are slower to boot, like Java, but then once the JVM is running, they are blazing fast and even optimize themselves during runtime. If you use a specific JVM, the Java Virtual Machine, the Hotspot JVM, I think, can be in cases faster than other compiled languages. Similarly, Rust is super fast, Z is super fast as far as I know. But then these languages are usually hard. Then there are better systems level languages that tie together existing software such as Bash, Python, I think Ruby. Then there are languages that run in browsers to run the web, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. Yeah. And if you really go down the rabbit hole, you compare libraries within languages or frameworks within languages. So people waste their times wondering about whether they should learn Spring Boot in Java, which is a framework for creating applications, or whatever else there is, Kafka. I think most people won't know Kafka. It's used by a couple of enterprises, but it's used rarely. But they are competitors. So yeah, you can busy yourself, you can waste your time comparing those. But what really matters is not the choice of the programming language and the rabbit hole you go down in, but actually the fun you are having. And many people on this channel write in the comments that they find it so interesting that I'm recording or that I'm programming in C. And they are writing me mails that they feel that they should learn C as well, and they just don't know where to start. And this mail right here gives me the exact same feeling already, but maybe let's continue reading the next couple sentences to hear the actual question. So here the reader is struggling with the choice of programming language, as every one of us at some point did. But what is the actual question? It's probably which programming language to pick. Oops. And there we go. I've always wanted to understand the software logic behind computers, the operating systems themselves, the kernel, shell, utilities, and to be able to read the source code of Linux software. Yeah, if you really want to understand the software logic behind computers, well, the software logic doesn't really make a difference between the different programming languages. But I'm reading between the lines that you want to understand the computer as a system, operating systems, the kernel, shell, utilities. And for that, C would of course be ideal, just because a vast majority of Linux software is implemented in C. And you want to be able to read the source code of Linux software, which is also C. And here I also have to mention that there's a difference between wanting to do something. Oh, I want to be able to understand the software. I want to be able to read the source code of Linux software. I want to be able to read the kernel. I want to be able to program kernel software. And really wanting to do something. Wanting to be able to do something. Because I personally want to be able to program kernel stuff. But do I really want it with all of its complexity? Do I really want to spend my time learning all of that? Do I really want to understand it in all detail? Personally, I don't really care. At least not right now. Yes, I would like to be able to do all of that stuff. But I don't want it in a sense that I really sit down and study that subject for long periods of time. So here you have to differentiate between just casual wanting and really wanting to. I hope I articulate that clearly. And the next sentence is, I'd like to reach a point where I can perform tasks on my computer fully consciously, knowing exactly what's happening under the hood. Yeah, and here it also depends on the degree of detail you want to know. Do you need to know every single syscall that the operating system deals with when you list the files in a directory? Or do you just want to know that you need to use this command to list all files in a directory, and it has those flags, and if you change those flags, the behavior will change, and if you want, you can code that command in C yourself. There's a difference between being able to code something and being able to knowing exactly what's happening under the hood in all detail. There's a difference, and you really have to know how much detail you really want. And that is something that you can only answer yourself, because personally, I think at some level below the C programming language, and maybe I'm just too narrow-minded right now, but I think at some level, if you go into too much detail, you're dealing with way too much standards, Unix stuff, POSIX stuff, and it's just boring. I don't care. I just want to be able to program anything I want. But I don't need to know exactly what's happening under the hood. So here I would like to ask you, if I even can do that, but yeah, maybe think about if you really want to know exactly what's happening under the hood, or you just want to know how to work with all of it. There's a difference. There's a big difference. Also, when you're dealing with external devices such as a USB or Bluetooth device, do you really want to know all the details of the USB or Bluetooth standard? Do you really want to know all the protocol data that is being exchanged to be compliant with that standard? Personally, I don't care. Maybe you do care, but make that decision consciously. You can fully consciously use computers without knowing every single detail. You can know how to navigate the system confidently, how to change directories, how to list files, how to copy files, how to move files, how to compress files, how to extract files. You can even study compression algorithms, but do you really need to fully know the format of gzip, of the gzip file format or zip? Do you need to know all the fields and the metadata and that are stored as metadata? Do you need to know everything? Maybe not. And that's where I would draw the line and say, okay, I want to be able to confidently navigate a Linux system. I want to be able to code, let's say in C, and I want to be able to understand on a solid foundational level what's happening, how maybe even how code is compiled and how compiled code is executed on a hardware level. But all the details that are in between the protocols used to transmit data over wire and all of that, maybe you don't need all of that. So also think about what you don't want, what you don't need to do, what you don't need to know. Yeah. And because you say you've always wanted to understand the software logic behind computers, for that programming is perfect. You can use C, but here you can also use the shell commands, bash. You can code your own stuff using bash very simply, or in C, of course. You can code your own utilities in Python. And to be able to read source code of Linux software, all you need, I think, is C. Of course, not everything is written in C. There are some other things, some auxiliary things that are not written in C. But the majority of stuff is C, as far as I know. And personally, I also find it interesting to be able to code stuff in a fairly low-level language like C, but I don't need to go beyond that. And the next sentence is, as far as I know, this requires strong knowledge and proficiency in C and C++. How about basic knowledge? You don't need strong knowledge. You need strong knowledge if you really solve extremely difficult problems yourself. If you need to solve extremely difficult problems yourself, then you need strong knowledge of a specific programming language. Or if you work for a company that demands of you to write extremely performant code, then you need strong knowledge of a programming language. But I would say much of the stuff that is And maybe I'm completely wrong here. So sorry, guys. Sorry to all the experts bashing me in the comments. I would say that much of the stuff that creates the basis of the system you're working in, for example, listing files, changing directories, whatever, all these small little shell utilities, they are fairly simple and you don't need strong knowledge. You just need some knowledge and then write stuff yourself, and you will just have a couple of click moments where you just notice that what you've been studying makes you somehow leads you to understand the system. For example, I never really understood the standard in and standard out and standard error streams before I coded something myself in C using those streams. And similarly, piping stuff into software, I never really understood it until I programmed something myself. Yeah, and also something that I've been doing on this channel recently is trying to duplicate some, or to code some small programs that duplicate behavior of existing shell utilities. For example, in the last video, should be the last one, before this video right here. In this video, I duplicated the behavior of the cat command, which just prints stuff to standard out and concatenates files and prints the files concatenated. Simple stuff like that. It's simple programming. It doesn't require strong knowledge. You need strong knowledge if you code the next neural network framework that uses the GPU's latest protocols, something like that. where you have to know parallel programming, threading, and all of that stuff. And I would even strike through the and C++ part. Maybe I'm wrong here as well, but I've never needed any C++ anywhere in my life. To understand the Linux system and the shell and all of that stuff, C is completely sufficient. C++ is just fancy C with object orientation and more features, of course. And disclaimer, this is probably an ignorant perspective, but you don't need C++ to understand Linux software. You don't need it. Okay, next sentence. Also, compared to the previous generation, ours has generally become more impatient. Short-form content could be one major reason. Yes, this is completely correct. And wait, let me just separate out this sentence. I find it quite important. Okay, short-form content could be one of the major reasons. Yes, that this is true, but it doesn't change anything about it shouldn't change anything about your personal choice of programming language. I know that you want to hint at gaining deep knowledge in something, as opposed to many of your peers in this generation, but you can gain deep knowledge in any programming language. It doesn't matter whether it's C or Java or Python. They are all huge rabbit holes where you can have tremendous insights, tremendous learning curves, and you can make a living from them. So yeah, you want to understand something deeply. And C is fine for that. With the rise of social media and constant comparisons with the best in every field, many people lack the patience to truly master something, especially something as challenging as C/C++. Yep, that's true, but that's also true for Python, and that's also true for Java, and that's true for Ruby, and that's true for Bash. I don't know a single person who can write good Bash scripts. I can't do it myself. I have to Google everything. Almost nobody truly masters any programming language. Mastery is not just accessible through C or C++, and even those are very different languages. Well, C++ is, as far as I know, a superset of C, but that might not even be a case anymore with the new standards of C and C++. Don't know if that's universally applicable, that statement. But yeah, there's mastery in so many areas of life, not just in C and C++. And that's the important point. And those programming languages, according to this mail, can take years to reach a good level in. Yes, just like every other programming language. That's why I believe young programmers who know C or low-level languages in general will be much more valuable in the future, since most of the real technologies around us are still mainly written in C or C++. Okay, you believe young programmers who know C will be much more valuable in the future. And this is a dangerous sentence, or it's a sentence where we have to draw some differentiations, and those are valuable. Well, young programmers who know C are more valuable to whom? I would even say that a young programmer who knows C as opposed to another language is probably less valuable in industry as opposed to someone else who knows Python. Maybe. It depends on, of course, how much system level knowledge comes with the mastery of C. But just knowing C very well won't really make you valuable in and of itself. What makes you valuable in the industry? Let me just talk about the industry. We can talk about other definitions of valuableness, of value afterwards. But in the industry, at a job, when you know C, as opposed to any other language, I don't think it makes you valuable in and of itself. Because true value is not the language you know well. It is your ability to learn new stuff. Because as we discovered in the beginning of this video, you are always a beginner. You will face new challenges every day. Even if you master C, it doesn't matter. You will face new challenges every single day. And if you know C very well, then you will have issues or challenges with Git. You will have issues or challenges with SSH. You will have issues or challenges with SFTP. You will have issues or challenges with architectural concepts. You will have issues or challenges with internet protocols such as TCP or UDP. So it's again the same phenomenon. You know one thing very well, you master that, and of course it comes with more generalized knowledge, but it's an encapsulated field of knowledge, and you will face other technical skills that you haven't touched yourself yet every single day. So, if you know C very well, you will deal with Git, you will have to deal with Python anyways, you will have to deal with compilers, and they will challenge you. So we will just have problems, and they will just probably be outside of C. Basically, by mastering a language, you freely choose in which area you won't have problems in. But you will still have problems in any other area. And let's say you instead say, okay, then maybe I shouldn't be a master. I shouldn't become a master in C. Let me learn Python and Flask and JavaScript. So that's a common application stack for, programming web applications. Then you will have in your day-to-day life, in your job, problems with systems level stuff because you don't know anything about the Linux shell, or you just have to deal with those problems every day. So because you narrow down Python and Flask and JavaScript, that's just the area where you will have least problems in. Yeah? So you spend time on a subject that you like in order to not have problems with it, or to minimize the amount of problems with it. But you will have problems with FTP, with SCP, with Bash, with God knows what, with the Windows command prompt, with PowerShell, with some specific file formats which you have never dealt with. If you are a master of C or Python, well, nobody cares if you have to deal with improving a video encoding standard. Yeah. And that's what happens when you work a job professionally, or you somehow, actually, even if you live life in general, you know something and you know it very well, but life or your job will throw the stuff at you that you don't know well. So the question for me is not which programming language you should learn. It's just, or the value is not in the study of a specific programming language. It's all in the attitude. It's all in being able to face a big variety of problems, be open and, be open-hearted to face many different challenges, and to not get frustrated with it. Because it doesn't matter which programming language you choose, you will deal with problems outside of that language for a majority of your day. And that's the value in the industry. The industry doesn't care. Maybe it cares as a stepping stone into a job. What programming language you are dealing with, or you are able to code in. But all the environmental challenges, they completely depend on attitude. Because, as we discovered in the beginning, everybody is a beginner in the majority of the fields you are dealing with. I hope this comes across. So the programming language doesn't matter. If you are personally interested in understanding how the Linux system works, how all the shell utilities work, then study C because you're interested in it. But don't expect your value to go up, because you will study it, you will be able to write programs well in C, but the majority of your challenges won't be in C. Guaranteed, even if you take up a C job. So that is the industry value. And yeah, you're saying knowing C will be much more valuable in the future. It is valuable in and of itself, yes, but the real value is in your character. And now the other kind of value that I would like to talk about is your personal feeling of value, your personal feeling of accomplishment when learning C. And that is, of course, something very personal. So here the question just breaks down to, do you really want to know C? Do you really want to know the stuff that is written in C? Do you want to code something in C yourself? Then just learn something about C and see if it sticks or not. But don't force it. Your value as a person does not depend on whether you know C or C++ or anything else. It's all in your head. It's all in your head. Let's go to the next sentence. Okay. But at the end of the day, what I keep wondering is whether the huge amount of time I'd spent learning something so time-consuming would be better invested in something else. And here I would say it's very likely that the time you spend is better invested in something else. Just because there's an almost infinite number of things you can spend your time with, and you choose to narrow down on one thing. So what's the likelihood of that one thing that you're spending time with is worth it? It's close to 0%. So is it worth it? Probably not. Probably, depending on your definition of worth, it's more worth it to learn how to repair cars now for you. And that will save you more money over the course of your life. Maybe it's more worth it now for you to learn cooking. Maybe it's more worth it to learn a new language. Chinese, Russian, German. Or maybe it's more worth it to learn how to speak English better. Yeah, so there are so many things you can do in life, and all of us, including myself, and here I speak deeply from my heart, are wasting their damn time with programming languages. The choice of programming language doesn't matter. What matters is that you enjoy your time. So don't force yourself to learn a specific language just to keep up in some arbitrary, artificial rat race to keep up with your peers or to be better than your peers. No, there's so much more to life than the damn programming language. If you care about C in that moment right now, and you have fun and you enjoy it and you feel like you're accomplishing something, then please go ahead and learn C. Just like I do on this coding channel right here. I just record stuff when I enjoy it in the moment. I don't force it. And so should you. Don't force it. Only do what you enjoy. And if you don't enjoy it on a particular day, then just go outside, watch the birds, take your bike, ride through a forest. I don't know, whatever you can do in your country. If you don't have any forests in your area, I don't know, sprint across a field, sprint across a desert, swim across an ocean. Well, not across an ocean, but just jump in the water. So, yeah, please, everybody here, everybody that's listening, and I'm really talking from the deepest corners of my heart. Stop wasting your time with the choice of which programming language you should pick. It's wasted. If you want a job that requires a specific language, then sure, learn the basics. If you want to take a job in flight control systems for airplanes, and you know that's going to take a lot of C++, then sure, learn that. Build your future. But don't strain yourself too much. There's so much more in life. Just get that job, and then once you're in the job, your skills won't matter anymore. What matters is your attitude, your willingness to research stuff, your willingness to learn about stuff, your communication skills, your humbleness, very important. Never have a bloated ego. Those are important skills. So yes, right now you are building your foundation because you just joined university. Please study the stuff that you need to get the job that you want. But don't forget about all the other things in your life. Yeah, and even if your studies become very cumbersome and you have to study 7 days a week, every day for hours, still try to do something else in the last couple hours of your day. Or in the morning, go outside, meet someone, have friends. Yeah. That's important. And I know all of the stuff I'm saying is not even answering your question, the reader's question, the subscriber's question. But maybe I can save some of you. Yeah, so let's continue with the email. For example, continuing with Python, which I already know a bit of. Full stop. Nowadays, programming has become more about new ideas and interdisciplinary applications, like in medicine with bioinformatics, specifically with the rise of AI. Many of the successful or wealthy people in tech weren't necessarily highly knowledgeable, but rather had great ideas and strong marketing, regardless of the language their programs were written in. And now you nail the point that I was trying to make. The language doesn't matter. What matters is what you do with it. And since you already have a foundation in Python, and you will be able to do anything you want in Python. And if you're a great Python programmer, you will be a great programmer in general. There's no gap between a great Python programmer and a great C programmer. They are just great programmers, both of them. So here I have the feeling that you know Python and you have somehow you sense that you want to go deeper than that. Maybe because of some YouTube videos you watched, some low-level YouTube videos. Just do whatever you feel in a given moment. Do whatever you enjoy at a given time. If you want to learn something low-level, then just go ahead and learn about it. Set a timer to 30 minutes or 1 hour and study that topic and see if you enjoy it. And maybe the next day, study another topic. Or study the same topic again if you enjoyed it so much. But don't fix yourself, don't rabbit hole yourself right now at the beginning of your studies and say, I will be an expert at C. Regardless of what you study and try to master it right now at the beginning of university, by the time you finish and graduate and join some company, you will know that you will find out that you're not an expert, regardless of what you learned. There will be colleagues with 20 years of experience or 30 years of experience that you will just see. You have to see for yourself. They will be vastly more knowledgeable. So just do the stuff that you enjoy right now. And then you ask, so I think by now you get what my concern is. Please guide me. If you were in my position, what would you do? And I would do exactly what I just told you. On a given day, if you have time outside of your regular studies at university, just learn about whatever you feel like learning, tinker with stuff, copy code from the internet and try to compile it, try to assemble some system, whatever, write some scripts, do whatever you feel like doing right now. Try to jailbreak your phone, try to flash the firmware of your ebook reader, try to repurpose your webcam and build a security camera. I don't know, whatever interests you at a given time. And don't force any interests if you don't have any. And never forget that there's a life outside of computer science. Because if you forget that, in just a couple of years, once your university is over and you are graduated, you will end up without a single friend because you didn't do anything with them during your studies. You will end up unhealthy because you didn't go outside. You never worked out somehow. You never moved your body. You will be unhealthy because you didn't eat well. And third, you will just have a huge sense of wasted time because you didn't get to experience life beyond computer science. So the big conclusion of this video is employ the tinkerer's mindset. Do what your heart wants to do. Try out things that interest you, but never forget about life itself. Reach out to friends. Go outside. Breathe air. Breathe deeply. Take a bath, take a shower. You know it. There's so much more to life than just choosing a programming language. Yeah. For you personally, I feel like just go ahead with Python. Go ahead with C a bit. Switch both of them around. Feel free. Don't rabbit hole yourself and don't narrow yourself down to one of them. And yeah, be a free person. And that's it. Wishing you the best. If you enjoyed this video, then Please stick around and subscribe. And see you next time. Bye.